I'm choosing to stay no contact even though my stepmom is dying. Well, this is a little heavier than our normal content. I am female 36 and my husband male 34. My father male 60 and my stepmother I think late 50s, early 60s. My stepmother is dying of cancer. She was apparently diagnosed somewhere around a year ago to my knowledge, and although she apparently went through many treatments, things have deteriorated very quickly. She's now only expected to have a few days when she was told a couple months ago that it was looking like a possible 12 months. Plus, my aunt called me today and asked me to put everything behind us and go and see her before she passes. She thinks that I'll regret it if I don't. The problem is, I don't actually want to. For some background, my relationship with my stepmother was never openly abusive in a noticeable way. It was more years of subtle digs, passive-aggressive comments, and feeling like my thoughts and opinions didn't matter and my input was often rejected in family discussions. She sometimes spoke negatively about my mom in front of me in my youth, and if something went wrong in my life, there always seemed to be an implication that I had somehow brought it upon myself. She always offered help with things I needed, like cover letter writings for jobs when I was younger, but in times where I needed her to use her maturity and compassion, she would side with my brother or her mother, and my sister and I's points would be squashed. She once growled at me and said, "You're not a parent, so you can't tell me anything about raising a child." When I brought up with her that I was concerned about my brother being left to play computer games for days on end until he toileted himself and sat in it. Wow. I was chastised for speaking up while he was told he lost his games for a week but would have them returned by the end of the day. I was a youth and my brother was around 4. My dad always sided with her, even when I felt she was clearly out of line. He either defended her or would tell me to just let it go. Over time, I stopped feeling like I had a dad who was really in my corner. Her mother also had a serious alcohol problem and would become verbally abusive towards me when she drank. Instead of standing up for me, my dad and stepmother would tell me to stay quiet because otherwise she would keep everyone awake by drinking more, shouting, and slamming doors. I was basically expected to accept being spoken to like that because it made life easier for everyone else. Eventually, I reached my limit. I calmly told her I wasn't willing to be spoken to that way anymore. I wasn't screaming or throwing a tantrum. I simply said that I wouldn't accept it. Instead of being supported, I was criticized by both my dad and my stepmother. Fast forward a few years. My daughter was born on January 5th of 2025. Before she arrived, I sent everyone who planned to meet her a list of newborn boundaries. Things like washing hands, no kissing the baby, no strong perfume, keeping voices down, and giving her back when she needed feeding. One of those boundaries was that anyone with poor hygiene would not be holding my newborn. This became relevant because my half-brother has struggled for years with severe depression and self-neglect. I genuinely feel for him because I too have struggled with my own mental health before, but at the same time, his hygiene had deteriorated to a point that his body odor was overwhelming. When I reluctantly invited him to my wedding, I saw guests around him trying to hide their gagging. My half-brother has also always been the golden child. My stepmother adored him and, in my opinion, enabled him for years rather than encouraging him to become independent. Even before his depression, he was rarely expected to do much for himself. I actually spent years trying to encourage him, telling him that he deserved better and was capable of more, but every time I tried, I was told to leave him alone or made to feel like I was causing problems. Months before my daughter was born, I had already sent everyone the newborn boundaries. My sister later told me that she and my stepmother had discussed the hygiene rule in the car, and my stepmother asked if I was referring to my half-brother. My sister apparently replied that it was obvious because he was dirty, so my stepmother already knew exactly who that boundary applied to before they came to visit. When they came to meet my daughter about 4 weeks after she was born, my stepmother still asked me in front of everyone if I would make the exception because he's your brother. I said no, I wasn't trying to embarrass him or punish him. I just wasn't willing to compromise my newborn's health to avoid hurting an adult's feelings. During that same visit, I also spoke to my half-sister. She She had begged me throughout my pregnancy to be there when I gave birth. Hospital policy technically meant that she was too young to attend. It was over 18 only in the birthing suite, and she was a mature 17-year-old at the time, but I arranged everything anyway. Before my induction, she stayed at our house. I cooked her favorite meal, bought snacks, made up the spare room with fresh bedding, and gave her my Switch and PlayStation while we waited. The plan was that once I moved from the induction ward to the delivery suite, we would send her an Uber. When that time came, my husband called her, but she said she changed her mind because she was tired and had decided to go to her boyfriend's house instead. When I found out after giving birth, I was devastated. So during the visit, I told her honestly how much that had hurt me. She cried and had a panic attack, and Dad said that he hadn't known about this and then stayed quiet for the rest of the visit. After that, there was almost complete silence. My stepmother, brother, and sister never called, never texted, never checked in on how I or my daughter were doing. Before then, I had always been the one making the effort, especially with my brother. At one point, I realized the last message he sent to me in over 2 years had only been to remind me that it was his birthday because I hadn't messaged him yet, even though it was still the morning of. My dad had contacted me a handful of times, and I would send him photos of my daughter. He would tell me how beautiful she was, but he never asked if I needed help, never offered to visit, never asked how I was coping, and never offered any practical support. I was a first-time mom recovering from childbirth, living with a disability, exhausted, struggling mentally, and trying to adjust to motherhood. I wasn't expecting anyone else to raise my child. I just wanted my dad to look at me, see that I was struggling, and ask, "What do you need?" Instead, it felt like nobody really saw me. During that period, my birthday came and went, and every single year of my life, my dad has wished me a happy birthday. We've always spoken on the phone, and he's always sent me a little birthday money. This was the first year that never happened. He also forgot my husband's birthday. I know my stepmother was unwell by then, and I genuinely understand that life must have been incredibly difficult for them. This isn't about the money. What hurt was feeling like I had quietly just stopped existing. At a time when it already felt like the rest of the family had forgotten me, losing that one tradition with my dad made me feel forgotten too. After around 10 months of this, I blocked everyone. The final straw came when my dad phoned me because he was worried he might be seriously ill. I was genuinely concerned for him, but during the same conversation where he told me he was scared for his life, he suddenly, chirpily, brought up the fact that I had blocked my sister on Instagram and started grilling me about it. It made me feel like that's what he really wanted to talk about. So I decided to cut contact completely. Since then, my mental health has improved enormously. My life is peaceful. My daughter is thriving. I don't spend my time walking on eggshells anymore. Now my stepmother is dying, and suddenly I'm being asked to come back home because she's family. I don't hate her, and I certainly don't wish this illness on her, but I also don't feel like dying erases years of hurt or makes me responsible for repairing relationships that nobody else tried to repair while there was still time. I've thought a lot about whether I'd regret not seeing her. Honestly, I think I'd be more likely to regret putting myself back into a family dynamic that caused me so much pain than I would regret missing one final goodbye. I also have been dwelling today on my dad since it made me imagine the pain of losing a partner, but I'm trying to trust my decision and continue with my own family in my own life and not re-enter a boundary that may very well cause us further distress. So, am I the a-hole for staying no contact with my family, including my dying stepmother? I am not qualified. Not qualified. This is a very serious one, a very complex situation. We're gonna head to the Reddit comment section and you chime in the comments, and maybe you've been in a similar position where you didn't have contact with a family member and they passed away and you didn't go to the funeral. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, you guys. Let's check out what Reddit has to say. Someone said, "You are not the a-hole. You don't owe your stepmom your presence, whether she's passing away or not. You don't have the kind of relationship with her where you need to be at her deathbed. You can go to the funeral if you want to show support to other family members, but even that is up to you. Be free. If you don't want to go, don't go. Next comment. A colleague of mine didn't attend her mother's funeral due to abuse she had suffered when she was younger. I was worried she would later come to regret it, but she was adamant that she wouldn't, and she was right. Don't worry about what other people will tell you about needing to go. People who have not been in abusive childhoods will always view these things in a different way to yourself. You have clearly thought long and hard about this decision to not attend, and as long as you also recognize that your decision to not go may mean any future relationship with your dad and brother would be impossible, then I say do what you know in your heart to be right. I'm sorry for the way you were treated as a child, but applaud you for surviving it and developing into what appears to be a very well-rounded and thoughtful adult. Well, that's nice. That is true though. I feel like if you don't go, this will possibly eliminate a future relationship with your dad and brother if you did want to open that door in the future, because they're obviously going to feel a type of way about this. Next comment. You are being asked to come back into the fold because your dad doesn't want to be the only person responsible for the immature adults he helped raise with your stepmother, and nobody else in the family does either. Your family wants you back as a caretaker, not because they want you in their lives again. You are not the a-hole. OP responded to this and said, that is what my husband said too. Just to be clear, my dad is not asking me to come back, but he is trying to reach out and ask how I'm doing through my aunt, since I blocked his number. But yes, I feel the possible regret from how everything turned out, and it might be lingering. I don't think that's at the front of his mind at all right now, but I will perhaps be able to judge at some point in the future. We do have an update though, so we'll see what happens and we'll see what they decide, but let's take a sip of water. I only got a little bit left. You better hydrate. It's hydration station. Cheers. Our last hydration station in the studio space. Cheers to that, you guys. I have filmed in the corner of my bedroom for the last 5 years to build this channel. This is literally a little corner. We built this together, you guys. So cheers to that. Hello, Queen of the Castle. Hello. Would you like to update everyone and let them know that you are finally comfortable in your new home? You're used to it now. You're no longer anxious. Okay, you're not. You're giving anxious vibes right now. For what? For what? I was just playing with you. I can't keep playing. I'm actually going back to filming. But say hello. She's like, will you come play with me? Now on to the update. I had to call my aunt just now to ask her to be my guarantor for us moving houses. I missed a message from her earlier that said she was going to be at my dad's house / stepmother's bedside today, and when I called, she didn't tell me right away, as I was outside in the heat with 10 bags of groceries and a baby in my arm, out of breath and rushing my request. After we discussed the matter, she told me that she was there paying her respects and saying goodbye, and I apologized for imposing and that I missed her message and I didn't know. She said not to worry at all. Then she said, your dad is next to me. Would you like to speak to him? But I paused, and before I said, no, not right now, he took the phone from her and said softly, what? Wag, what? What on earth? What? Wag, whatin? What are you doing? Is that what he's supposed to say? Wagwin? What you wooing? What is that supposed to mean? His usual jolly greeting that he always gave me with a somber undertone that I could hear. I was a deer in headlights and I said, I can't do this right now, quite dismissively, and he said, that's okay, not to worry, I understand, and he handed the phone back to my aunt. We then just wrapped up the phone call. At that moment, hearing my dad greet me like that for the first time since last February shook my heart a little. His voice was the same person, but I could hear every undertone. His slight hoarseness, exhaustion from the situation. I messaged my aunt after and I said, I appreciate that you're so hoping dad and I talk again, but I feel like at this moment, with everything going on and emotions high, it's not the right time for either of us. She'll take it well and will most likely apologize. But now I'm just sitting here staring at the wall trying to process my feelings. I know you've all said that I'm not the a-hole, and pretty much all of you, plus my best friend and husband, think I should stay true to no contact, but they say whatever I choose is fine. I'm silently quaking under the pressure I have right now. And I'm starting to feel desperate that I don't know who I am anymore in this situation and the right path to take. I can't bear how I was treated postpartum and everything else. It stings. And apparently I'm not a bad person, but why does it feel like I kind of am? Hearing my father's voice so soft and frail in the moment was a side of him I've never heard before. When he spoke, I felt my pupils dilate. I'm gonna hold my own hand when I confess this. I think I miss my dad. Oh my, what should I do? I feel so lost. I can't concentrate. I feel pressure in my chest. It feels like, I don't know. I've also been having visions since hearing the news yesterday of my stepmother in the front room hospital bed in their house, the death rattle, and my dad stoic, staying strong for my siblings, who I know will absolutely lose the plot, and finally slipping away into the garden to sob it out. Why am I having these visions? Am I caring too much? Not enough? Most of you helped me understand the situation in many different ways, and I am so appreciative of that. I'm hoping maybe you can all see from the fly on the wall perspective after this update and tell me if I'm being weak or too empathetic and putting my own priorities in second place, or if having compassion should change my mind and comfort him and them through this hard time, despite the mistakes that were made. Oh man, I feel like only you can really make this decision, but it's such a heavy one that you would want advice from other people. We're going back to the Reddit comment section. The first one is from OP. Apparently she just gave another edit and some more details in the comment section. She said, the relationship with my sister was never turbulent before this, neither with me and my brother really, because he was basically a ghost. But I really feel that my stepmother was probably jealous of the relationship I had with my dad and perhaps saw me as the child, but the other woman that she disliked so much. She always said, "You're my family and I love you like my own children." And I would fake grin and I would reply, but deep down I just knew. I could just feel it, the cover up, so I couldn't find any way to have sympathy there. Especially with her enabling her own messed up mother to be so mean to everybody, including herself. The granny used to get drunk and say, "You're the reason your sister is disabled," or "Your father left you because blah blah blah," which is wild to me. And I share the same unapologetic notion that people that have gone that far with self-destruction and hate are simply wasting oxygen. But when I would bring anything up that I was concerned or passionate about or believed in that was contrary to their beliefs, we would hash it out for hours, and finally, my dad would take her side but make it appear as if he was just mediating the situation. I tolerated it, never confronted him about it, and I'm using those memories now to also try to keep me in line with this whole situation. I don't know how many times this is going to drag me back and forth, but honestly, I'm really glad that I posted because of all of you, and I just wanted to say that anyone that sees this that has commented, thank you for being so caring. Complete strangers have been a whole box of band-aids for the scratches that I have been taking these past days. Now going on to someone else's comment. Someone commented, "We bonded with these people before going no contact. We can't help bonding. It's how we're wired. We cleave onto the people who our livelihood depends on when we're children so we can survive. That's what enables us to endure all manner of effery," I'll say, because I can't say the word, "from those people. It's what makes it so hard to go no contact. Your dad is feeling vulnerable and you're responding to that. I doubt he's trying to be manipulative, but the fact of the matter is, he is still self-centered. His grief is tethered to the person who abused you, and he wants you to be there for him in the way that he refused to be there for you. There is no easy decision here. Ultimately, whatever you decide will and should be something you can live with. You have a family now that is bonding to you and relying on you now. Perhaps they can be your North Star that guides the decisions you can make next rather than your trauma. Will crossing the no contact line with your dad impact your ability to parent, model, or otherwise be there for your kids now? That felt like such a mature perspective. I was like reading it and saying out loud, I was like, damn. OP responded to that and said thank you. And honestly, no, nothing that ever happens in my life will impact my ability to parent, model, or be there for my little one. I feel very strong on this. We will always be okay. And next comment, someone said, "I think you are grieving and wanting a version of your dad that doesn't exist. It seems that he and his wife are looking to be absolved of guilt they feel for exposing you to abuse and neglecting you. But now that you can be of use to them, now you're considered family." It's a very heavy subject today, you guys. No entertaining drama over here, but let's all chat about it in the comment section. I'll see you there. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. Bye.